to this assigned pooling tutorial. Today I'm gonna show you how to make a beanie using the assigned pooling technique. What you will need is any color changing or variegated yarn like this, and basically I will show you how to make a very simple beanie, but you can use any pattern to apply this technique to. Now, what is assigned pooling? It is very simple. You assign a certain stitch to a certain color of your variegated or color changing yarn. And in this case, I will show you how I make the crossed stitches with the pink in the yarn, but you can also use, for instance, a puff stitch like I did here, and I made puff stitches with the brown parts of the yarn. Assigned pooling is very fun. It is very easy. This is just to show you how I made this beanie, but but I encourage you to try it on any pattern. You can make any pattern more fun by putting in that playful element of the assigned pooling. There is just one thing I want to say, that if you should do a stitch like a popcorn stitch or a puff stitch, that you will need a little bit more yarn than you would usually use for a beanie, because those stitches use up more yarn. But for instance, for the cross stitch, it won't take that much more yarn. Well then, enjoy this tutorial. If you want to share your makes, you can tag me on Instagram or any social media using the hashtag assignedpoolingforcrochet, or tag me at Cat's Eye Catchers. Okay, have fun. Bye. Okay, let's start. I am gonna use a 6mm hook. This is a pretty thick yarn that asks for a knitting needle number 5, so 5mm. So I want it to not be too tight, so I'm going to use a 6mm hook. Now, before I assign my color, I know I want to make a cross stitch, but I don't know exactly which color will be suited to do that. So start by getting a full color repeat, so that will be this up until here. I'm gonna just make a chain. Just a simple chain. Only to see what the length of the color changes look like compared to one another with the same stitch. I'm actually wanting to use the pink, and I'm hoping that it will work. But the pink has a repeat. Maybe I should use the white. The white has a long color change. Okay, okay. So for the cross stitch, I actually don't need a large color repeat, and so the white is definitely the longest color here. I'm gonna use the pink. Yes. as I see it, you have 2 light grays, 2 pinks, and then the dark gray and the white are the longest. And these 2 are the shortest. Yes, I am gonna use the pink. Okay, let's rip this back. Now you can start with a magic loop, but I don't like it because I never managed to close it up well enough. Oops. Let's give myself a little bit more tail to sew in later. Okay, and I start with 4 chains or a magic loop. That's up to you. 4. And then slip stitch in the first to make a circle. Chain 1 and make 14 double crochets in the circle. That's 1. That's 2. $11 and 12. Did I say 14 before? I meant 12. 12 stitches. Let's count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Slip stitch to close your circle and chain 1. Now I like to use a stitch marker to mark my stitches, my beginning of round. You don't have to, it's completely up to you, but I'm gonna use a stitch marker because I like to know where I'm at. Round 2. We're not gonna do the assigned pooling yet on the second round either. We're gonna do 2 stitches in each double crochet of the previous row. So that's 2 double crochets in each stitch, increasing our 12 stitches to 24. Okay, the last 2 stitches. I like to count to check. So that's 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. Slip stitch in the first stitch. And chain 1. Round 3, we're not gonna do the assigned pooling yet. So we're gonna make 1 increase, 1 regular stitch. So 2 double crochets in the first stitch. One double crochet in the next stitch. 2 double crochets and 1 double crochet. 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, I'm at the end, so that's 2 and 1. You have to end with 1. If that's the case, you did well. Slip stitch in the first stitch, chain, and we're ready for row 4, and that is again an increase and then followed by 2 stitches. So that is 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1, 1. Again, we are not taking the assigned pooling into account. As long as we are increasing, we cannot make cross stitches on the increase stitches. So increases 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, and okay, I've done my increases, and now we are just gonna go into the round and doing 1 stitch in each stitch of the previous row. And we're gonna start with our assigned stitch. I'm gonna do a cross stitch, but for instance, if you want to do a puff stitch, you do a puff stitch. You do what you want to do. I'm gonna do the cross stitch. So I'm gonna make my first stitch marker, my first double crochet, and here I am with my assigned color. I'm gonna make a double crochet, but not in the first stitch, but in the next one. And then the next double crochet I'm not gonna do in this one, but in the one we skipped. And this is a cross stitch, the stitches crisscross. And then just continue with the regular double crochets. Pink double crochet in the second, double crochet in the skipped one. Oops. And there we go. Double crochet in the next step, in the next stitch. I'm thinking maybe the pink is too small. Maybe I should have chosen the white one. Let's just do a few more. So skip one. And double crochet in the previous. No, the pink works fine. Okay. And just go all the way around, doing your assigned stitch in your assigned color. Okay, this one is changing to pink, so I'm gonna do the first double crochet and the next double crochet. And go in the previous, in the skipped one. Sometimes they're not gonna be very all the way perfect, but that's okay. And this way you go all the way around And when you reach your last stitch, you slip stitch in the first stitch, chain 1, and start your next row. And this you continue all the way until you have reached the desired length of your beanie. If you want to add a brim to it, you have to consider the width of the brim you want to make. But you can also stop there and finish it, for instance, with a crab stitch or just a single crochet or a round of slip stitches. It's up to you. I am gonna make a brim to this beanie in the tutorial. So I would say crochet all the way and down till you reach the desired length minus 3 centimeters. That's a little over an inch. Okay, so now I'm ready for the brim. You can make this brim as wide as you want to, but now is the time to determine how wide you want it to be. Earlier in the tutorial I said about 3 centimeters. You can make it shorter, you can make it larger. Make a chain the length you want your brim to become. Now from this point on, we are not using assigned pooling anymore. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm gonna go for 4. So let's see, just to give you an idea, it's an inch, it's 2.5 centimeters. Okay, so I have 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then to turn, chain 1, and now single crochet in the last chain, or what is now the second chain from the hook. And single crochet all the way down. So as I had 4 chain stitches, that means that I have to do 4 single crochets. Okay, this is the result. Now, this is where your chain is. Slip stitch in the next stitch on your hat, and again slip stitch in the next one. Turn your work and single crochet in the first stitch of your brim. Then single crochet in the back loop only of every stitch, but not the last one. So single crochet in the back loop, for me that is 2, until you reach the last stitch. In the last stitch you do a regular single crochet. Chain 1 to turn, and turn your work. Single crochet in your first stitch. Single crochet back loop only into all the stitches until you reach the last one, so not in the last one. For me, again, it means 2 back loop onlys. Then single crochet, regular single crochet in the last stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch on your hat and the one after. Turn your work. Full single crochet in the first stitch, back loops, single crochet until you reach the last stitch, and full single crochet in the last stitch. And do you see the pattern, what you have to do? Chain 1 to turn. Now you're gonna continue doing a full single crochet in the first and the last stitch, and all stitches in between get back loop only. When you reach the last stitch, you do a single crochet. You slip stitch in the next 2 stitches of your hat, turn your work, and start the ribbing again. And you do that for the whole width of your hat. And I will see you for the closing of it. I have reached my last 2 stitches. And I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do one more row of ribbling. Then chain 1, turn the hat inside out, and crochet the 2 ends together. Just go into the opposite stitch and slip stitch, and just do that for every stitch in the row. Go into the next one. If you prefer, you can sew them together as well, but if I can crochet something closed, I will crochet it instead of sewing it. And the last one. And there we go. Then just one, and pull your yarn through, cut the yarn and pull your yarn through, sew in your end, and we're done. And that's the result. This is one I made with puff stitches. Here I used the cross stitch. Just let your imagination do its job and assign whichever stitch you want to whichever color you want. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope this inspired you to have a look in your yarn stash and find out which yarns you can use to apply the assigned pooling to. If you liked my tutorial, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so. If you have friends who would like to see this technique, don't hesitate to share the video as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!